Ah, ah, ah. Hello, students. How are we doing today? I hope you are all doing well. Boom. Oh my gosh, we are here. Yeah, that's right. That's right. What you thought? Oh, you thought, oh, he went on like his little break and then, he does one little cool, like long thing. And then you thought, like, oh, he's going to fall off. Hey, you know what? You know what? No, screw you. How about that? Eat me. For all the haters, I thought I wasn't going to make it, even though my soundboard paper is falling apart and I don't have my lucky glue. Actually, I do have my glue. So, we're just going to go ahead and do this while I sit here and I try to figure this shit out. All right, just give me a second. Right? Jeez. All right, I got like I've been watching Gilmore Girls and Paris. Like I thought Paris and Rory were gonna have a really good relationship out of this one, but turns out fucking Tristan is just a jackass and he just wants to be friends. Which of course he likes Rory. Everyone likes Rory. And what the fuck happened to Dean? We didn't really get any resolve off of that and stuff like that. And I'm just like, everything's not right in the world. She missed out on a quarter fucking mil. If you haven't seen Gilmore Girls, I don't give two shits if I'm gonna spoil everything for you. It just that that for Rory is life's a witch, but for the bee, there you go. I said it. Mm-hmm. All right. I just like I had I had so much planned out. I had so much planned out, theorized for their whole thing, and I hope they somehow resolve it. I really like the show. The show's really cool. Okay, I think it's amazing. Ugh, the fuck. Ugh. Is that my stash here? That's a stashy. Okay, we're good. Sorry. Um, but yeah, just what was it? I've been watching that show. I'm kind of want to get into Midnight Mass. I saw that was a couple good one. Of course, finished out Squid Game. Great show. Fucking loved it. And we'll get into what I have for you today. But right now, I just wanted to get into like kind of talking with you and all that. Here, we'll get the music back up and going. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, everything's been pretty good so far. What was it? Work life's been okay. Nothing too crazy. Just been kind of enjoying stuff right now. I'm kind of waiting for things to like get back into the groove. Like, what was it? I'm doing this thing with work and I'm kind of bounced onto a project and stuff, and that's been kind of getting interesting. And then what was it? If you didn't know, if you saw some of my old content, you were to see an awful. Actually, I don't know if the VOD's still there. I'm gonna have to re-up on one. But I did a D&D, I DM, and currently right now was it kind of trying to get through the final arcs with my players, and that's been crazy. And what was it? Tomorrow I really want to stream and finish up that artwork with you guys. I think that'll be a lot of fun and stuff. Tyler, what is up? Hello. Hello, my good man. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm just kind of, what was it? I'm kind of letting people drag on in and stuff, just enjoying it for right now. And before we get into the thick of it, of actually, the Salem witch trials and stuff. So I'm super excited about that. Before, shit gets ugly. But dude, what was it? What we had last week I've read the Crucible. Oh yeah, that what was it we talked? That's something about it too. What was it? I had it pulled up. It started with an M. It was like a booklet that basically like advertised on just like how people can be witches and stuff. I'm interested to, because like this is one of those things where like I kind of know the generics of it. People got too religious and sketched out, and they started killing people because they could be witches. Like that's about it. And so I want to get into the specifics of it, because I went on Reddit, and it turns out there's like a couple people trying to defend people, and like I guess the mystery behind it is why people started acting weird, and then got into the bit of like, why are people murdering people? So yeah. So I know it's wild. A lot of it. There's a lot of theories going out there on just like what caused people. I think it had to do with like mold, like in the, not rice, but like in the wheat or something like that. I saw something theorizing with it. But after we get done with this article and making fun of it and just laughing at people suffering, and then also, what was it? Moment of silence for the actual witches out there. I mean, if you don't know, now you know. Oh shit, make people on edge from wheat mold. I think I saw something on Reddit for that. And again, like, and people that are watching now, I haven't started recording yet, but people that are watching now, if you're watching the VOD, what was it? This is all just me reading this stuff. Of course, what was it? I'll take responsibility of what I show on here, but what is read out, this is kind of just speculative stuff. This is why I love about Wikipedia is that it's the foundational part. You start with the article and then you start building off the references, pull from it. We've done that a couple times, so that's always super fun. Because we'll go down a couple of fucking like crazy rabbit holes down this, and it gets wild. It gets wild. I get like, what was it? We learned about what was it? It was the Donner Party, but it wasn't just the Donner Party. Like when they started eating each other, turns out like they actually could have been saved by some of the Native Americans in the mountains, but turns out they were just too sketched out by them, because it was basically they had to choose. They had a 50-50 deal on like, basically, are these Native Americans going to steal our ox, or these people are going to feed us and shelter us? So that was a whole thing onto that. And again, go ahead and watch. What was it? I got the trailer up on my YouTube. If anyone's interested, go ahead and subscribe there. Oh, dude, they ate kids. It was, dude, like the naming structure was like Game of Thrones. There was murder, there was betrayal, there was twist. It was a wild. It's wild shit. Yeah. So now, like, of course, what was it? I did a little bit of research on this part. Now we're going to be discovering the Salem witch trials. I don't know too much about this. All right, I know the generics. You know the generics part about it, but to finally get into the specifics, I'm kind of excited about that. So, how do I sound to everybody? Is everything good? Right. Hope everything is good for you guys. I hope you're all having a wonderful time. If you like what you're seeing, go ahead, hit me up with the follow. We're always diving into Wikipedia articles and stuff on just some of the weirdest stuff onto there. Just like 2 in high school. Lol, maybe just me. The Crucible? No, I haven't read the Crucible in high school. What was it? If you find an article towards it, we might look into that. Also, I just found like a little bit of like a reenactment, like back in the 50s, where it's some like black and white shit of like some old school reenactments of the witch trial, and it looks ridiculous. That'll be a good spicy. So you watch all the way to the end, there'll be a nice little reward for you on some old video we're gonna react to. So I'm super excited about that. But hey, we're gonna have to get this happy music. Guess what? The fuck out of here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. and NBs, we are going to be diving into the Salem witch trials. It's time to get spooky in here. It's time to get a little bit scary. So, let's get right to it. Now again, let me go ahead and start this recording. I want to say hello to everyone that's here and welcome to the show of Let's Learn. You see, today we're going to be continuing our trek through the scariest articles that Wikipedia can provide us. All right. Now, if you're brand new here and of course you haven't seen this delectable face, let me tell you, my name is Professor Void. And I would like to take this moment to guide you into these wonderful spaces and see what we find. All right. Now, this month we're again diving into the scariest bits, and today's bit is, well, let me go ahead and show you. The Salem witch trials. Now, of course, how we do things here, quick explanation. We like to take our little journey into Wikipedia, check out the article, read it, react it, do a little bit of research around it as we continue to pique our interest here. And then right around the end, we usually do something a little bit entertaining to see what goes on. All right. Now I'm super excited. Hopefully the music is not too loud for you all. Hopefully you hear me just fine. Now, for my beginning parts of my theory with the Salem witch trials, and we were just talking about this, everybody that wasn't here before, is I think it had to do with like bad conditions where people started hallucinating, and then that's when people started getting all about like, oh, we got to get rid of some of these witches. And turns out, and like some of it got, and then of course some of it was just like, I fucking hate Todd. Can we just murder him? So it was very efficient calling out sign. And then of course from that it went into just people playing games now. Just like, I know there's games like Werewolf, Mafia, just Salem in general. See who survives the most. It gets very interesting. Now, I think we will dive into the specifics of witchcraft in another time. But tonight, I want to go on over the specifics of what happened in the small town of Salem, Massachusetts. I want to see what happened here. What drove a town to murder or put to death and set on fire to multiple people? Let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's ask our buddy boy here, Brian, to get us situated. All right. Increase Mather. Oyer Terminer. English law. Okay, so this really is like a trial. Okay. The Puritans. English Protestants in the 16th century who sought to purify Church of England of Roman Catholic practices, maintaining that the Church of England had not been fully reformed and should become more Protestant. Puritanism played a significant role in English history, especially during the Protectorate. I think I'm saying that right. Hopefully, maybe not. Huh. Let's go ahead and get back to it. All right. Let's see this. We got an hour. Yeah. That usually extends.
Salem witch trials. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. The Salem witch trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. More than 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging, 14 women and 5 men. One other man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death for refusing to plead, and at least 5 people died in jail. Arrests were made in numerous towns beyond.
Wait, pressed to death? Death by crushing or... Oh my god, what? Was it the pressure that he was a witch? Holy shit. Salem? Alright. Okay, okay. What, were they doing some just like... some old school Boston shit? Like, nah. Go ahead, put a car on top of him, right? And then if he smushes... if he fucking smushes... he's human. I love how like that was some of the trials back then too. It was like simply of just like, no. If they died, they were human. Like, what the fuck?
Arrests were made in numerous towns beyond Salem and Salem Village, known today as Danvers, notably Andover and Topsfield. The grand juries and trials for this capital crime were conducted by a court of voir in 1692 and by a superior court of judicature in 1693, both held in Salem town, where the hangings also took place. It was the deadliest witch hunt in the history of colonial North America. Only 14 other women and 2 men had been executed in Massachusetts and Connecticut during the 17th century. The episode is one of colonial America's most notorious...
It was a light century.
The episode is one of colonial America's most notorious cases of mass hysteria. It has been used in political rhetoric and popular literature as a vivid cautionary tale about the dangers of isolationism, religious extremism, false accusations, and lapses in due process. It was not unique, but a colonial American example of the much broader phenomenon of witch trials in the early modern period, which took place also in Europe. Many historians consider the lasting effects of the trials to have been highly influential in subsequent United States history. According to historian George Lincoln Burr, the Salem witchcraft was the rock on which the theocracy shattered.
See, this is when cancel culture really took its high point. I think, just like Bethany, you fucked up on the casserole. Only a witch would do that, honey. I'm just saying.
At the 300th anniversary events in 1992 to commemorate the victims of the trials, a park was dedicated in Salem and a memorial in Danvers. In 1957, an act passed by the Massachusetts legislature absolved 6 people, while another one, passed in 2001, absolved 5 other victims. As of 2004...
Wait, oh my god, what? In 1955, an act passed by Massachusetts legislature absolved 6 people? Oh, so they were still... Wait a minute. That wasn't for like witches, right? Right? In 1962, to commemorate the victims of the trial, a park was dedicated to Salem. Oh, thank God. Yay. Oh, thank God. They put a park there. Yay. Thank you. Oh my gosh. So nice. So an act passed by Massachusetts legislature that absolved 6 people, while another one passed in 2001, absolved 5 other victims. Damn. So they were still... Are they still burning people?
As of 2004,
oh my God.
There was still talk about exonerating all of the victims, though some think that happened in the 18th century as the Massachusetts colonial legislature was asked to reverse the attenders of George Burroughs and others. In January 2016, the University of Virginia announced its Gallows Hill project team had determined the execution site in Salem, where the 19 witches had been hanged. The city dedicated the Proctor's Ledge Memorial to the victims there in 2017.
I wonder if like current people studying and in witchcraft, I wonder if they still go there and like commemorate. I wonder if there's like a whole thing to that. I wonder, because I would like, what was it? They're still, I'm guessing they're still Puritans and there's still witchcraft. Where is the Wicca? Where is the Wicca capital? I don't know. Wicca capital? Is that a thing? Capital? Wicca capital? Capital campaign stuff. Get Wicca claim. Or where they congregate. Yeah, I guess like where would be the I don't know, let's quickly WiccaCon? It's in his no, I want to like witchcraft information archive. Yeah. So Is there a witch conference convention? All them witches, Ellie. Witch Fest. Is this it? I think that's it. Witch Fest. We going to Witch Fest? Let's fucking go. Honestly, I would be down. Let's see, view events. Oh, okay, we got ourselves a video here. Let's check it out. Hold up. Let's turn her down. Ooh. Witchfest online. Oh. Okay. Damn. Okay. Let's get back to it. Will NSFW? What? Where? Huh? Did I miss it? We'll continue it further. But okay. I'm just warning in case. Right, yeah, I gotta be safer. Sorry, what was it? Getting a little hot and heavy for the witches here. So okay, let's continue here.
Background, further information, protests against early modern witch trials. While witch trials had begun to fade out across much of Europe by the mid-17th century, they continued on the fringes of Europe and in the American colonies. The events in 1692-1693 in Salem became a brief outburst of a sort of hysteria in the New World, while the practice was already waning in most of Europe. In 1668, in Against Modern Sadducism, Joseph Glanville claimed that he could...
From a first-hand experience? Yes. I have a friend. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I just have a friend who does that, and they told me it gets a little kinky. Like that's totally what I'm saying. That would be funny. Like, what was it? You always like see those like TikToks where it's like someone like dropping off like, I don't know, like a woman, like there's like a woman like dropping off like protein powder and stuff, and it's just like, oh, I hope a big hunky person from the gym doesn't follow me home. Like, I wonder if there's a guy like bent just like hanging around like an empty park or like an empty cemetery, and it's just like, oh no, hope this virgin booty doesn't get taken by some hot witches or something. That would be
In 1668, in Against Modern Sadducism, Joseph Glanville claimed that he could prove the existence of witches and ghosts of the supernatural realm. Glanville wrote about the denial of the bodily resurrection, and the supernatural spirits.
Oh, so we got Joseph Glanville. Oh yeah, no, he looks like an asshole. You see this guy? Writer, philosopher, clergyman, not himself a scientist, as he has been called, the most skillful apologist of virtuosi, or in other words, the leading propagandist for approach of English natural. Wow, okay, so this guy was a faker.
In his treatise, Glanville claimed that ingenious men should believe in witches and apparitions. If they doubted the reality of spirits, they not only denied demons but also the Almighty God. Glanville wanted to prove that the supernatural could not be denied. Those who did deny apparitions were considered heretics, for it also disproved their beliefs in angels. Works by men such as Glanville and Cotton Mather tried to prove that demons were alive.
I told you. Demons are alive. They make you do strange things like masturbate and look at weird pictures. You have a boner, there's a demon in you. And you must meet with me privately so we can extinguish this demon.
Accusations. The trials were started after people had been accused of witchcraft, primarily by teenage girls such as Elizabeth Hubbard, 17, as well as some who were younger. Dorothy Goode was 4 or 5 years old when she was accused of witchcraft. Recorded witchcraft executions in New England. The earliest recorded witchcraft execution was that of Orse Young in 1647 in Hartford, Connecticut, the start of the Connecticut witch trials, which lasted until 1663. Historian Clarence F. Jewett included a list of other people executed in New England in his 1881 book. Political context. New England had been settled by religious dissenters seeking to build a Bible-based society according to their own chosen discipline. The original 1629 Royal Charter of the Massachusetts Bay Colony was vacated in 1684, after which King James II installed Sir Edmund Andros as the governor of the Dominion of New England. Andros was ousted in 1689 after the Glorious Revolution in England replaced the Catholic James II with the Protestant co-rulers William and Mary. Simon Bradstreet and Thomas Danforth, the colony's last leaders under the old charter, resumed their posts as governor and deputy governor, but lacked constitutional authority to rule because the old charter had been vacated.
See, like, these motherfuckers like wanted to try their own little Christian club, and it's just like like what was that? I think there's like over thousands of denominations of Christianity, and it's just like these old boys here with their fancy little hairdos and stuff and great paintings is just like say, no, I want to start my own club. Yes, where we believe in witches and demons. We must extricate the demons out of us together.
A new charter for the enlarged province of Massachusetts Bay was given final approval in England on October 16, 1691. Increase Mather had been working on obtaining the charter for 4 years, with William Phipps often joining him in London and helping him gain entry to Whitehall. Increase Mather had published a book on witchcraft in 1684 and his son Cotton Mather published one in 1689. Increase Mather brought out a London edition of his son's book in 1690. Increase Mather claimed to have picked all the men to be included in the new government. News of Mather's charter and the appointment of Phipps as the new governor had reached Boston by late January, and a copy of the new charter reached Boston on February 8, 1692. Phipps arrived in Boston on May 14 and was sworn in as governor 2 days later, along with Lieutenant Governor William Stoughton. One of the first orders of business for the new governor and council on May 27, 1692, was the formal nomination of county justices of the peace, sheriffs, and the commission of a special court of voir and terminer to handle the large numbers of people who were thronging the jails. Local context. Salem Village, present-day Danvers, Massachusetts, was known for its fractious population, who had many internal disputes, and
that was... Sorry, we'll get back. No, we'll jump onto this, but I like how they... What was it? Thronging. The commission of special court and handled a large number of people who were thronging the jails. The fuck is thronging? Either way, that is some wild shit. My dude finally got into power and immediately started doing the government type of thing where it's just like, okay, let's start immediately implementing this rhetoric of how witches are real. Oh boy.
Local context. Salem Village, present-day Danvers, Massachusetts, was known for its fractious population, who had many internal disputes, and for disputes between the village and Salem town, present-day Salem.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not gonna be rude here, but it's fucking Massachusetts. Like, yeah, you're obviously gonna have people with conflict there. It's Massachusetts.
Arguments about property lines, grazing rights, and church privileges were rife, and neighbors considered the population as quarrelsome. In 1672, the villagers had voted to hire a minister of their own. Apart from Salem town.
You fucking parking your carriage down here, man. You're ruining the sweet view. You're gonna fuck up my grass. I'm trying to like figure out a Boston accent. Got your fucking horse over here. You're shitting in my yard. Tony Soprano. Tony. Nah, that's New Jersey. Tony Soprano's New Jersey. You come over here, you start showing your wife out with your new linens and stuff like that. Now we don't go fucking around with Billy over there, okay? They go over there. They went over to a new church, okay? They can go fuck themselves. East Coast all the same. I mean, kinda, yeah.
The first two ministers, James Bailey, 1673,
Oh, I love some
79,
Baileys
and
right
George Burroughs, 1680, 83, stayed only a few years each, departing after the congregation failed to pay their full rate. Burroughs was subsequently
donating.
arrested at the height of the witchcraft hysteria and was hanged as a witch in August 1692.
Damn. Well, dude, my guy lived long enough to become a villain, I guess. Oh shit. So hello, you all. I'm here. I'm here to praise the good Lord. The Lord out here. Just like, I think he's a witch. What the fuck? No.
Despite the minister's rights being upheld by the general court and the parish being admonished, each of the two ministers still chose to leave. The third minister, Theodore Lawson, 1684, 88, stayed for a short time, leaving after the church in Salem refused to ordain him and therefore not over issues with the congregation. The parish disagreed about Salem Village's choice of Samuel Parris as its first ordained minister. On
You're not talking about God the way I want to hear it. You get your ass on out of here. I don't like how you speak of God.
On June 18, 1689, the villagers agreed to hire Parris for £66 annually, 1/3 part in money and the other 2/3 parts in provisions, and use of the parsonage. On October 10, 1689, however, they raised his benefits, voting to grant him the deed to the parsonage and 2 acres, 0.8 hectares, of land. This conflicted with the 1681 village resolution which stated that it shall not be lawful for the inhabitants of this village to convey the houses or lands or any other concerns belonging to the ministry to any particular persons or person, not for any cause by vote or other ways. Though the prior minister's fates and the level of contention in Salem village were valid reasons for caution in accepting the position, Reverend Parris increased the village's divisions by delaying his acceptance.
Like, guys, we need a preacher here. There's witches all over the place. We need a preacher. The guy's thinking like delaying his acceptance. Yeah, because you fucking burned one of your preachers. Like, you're not setting a great precedent. Just like, can I look at some of your past workers? Just like, oh, yes. Just like, all right, this one left early. Oh, this one left early. Yeah, just in and out. I understand. Just like, was this one here? He retired early, but he doesn't see the specific reasons. Well, he wanted to leave out with a blaze of glory. The villagers were not too happy about that one. He was, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. He was fired, if you could. Huh. I wonder if that's how the original part became true. You're fired. That changes that whole Trump show now. The contestants were just burned alive. You're fired. Yeah, he was always hanging around on the job. Yeah, we wanted to put a little spark in his passion. Went out with a blaze of glory, you could say.
He did not seem able to settle his new parishioners' disputes by deliberately seeking out iniquitous behavior in his congregation and making church members in good standing suffer public penance for small infractions. He contributed significantly to the tension within the village. Its bickering increased unabated. Historian Marion Starkey suggests that, in this atmosphere, serious conflict may have been inevitable.
Oh, yay, we're building up the context to the original part. I love it. I love it. So yeah, no, Boston was just being Massachusetts was being Massachusetts. Assholes were all around, and just people were not feeling it. People were all up in people's yards. That's how it was. All right, preachers wanted to preach. People were not feeling it. I love it how like the locals. It's mainly the locals part.
religious context. See also, History of the Puritans in North America. Prior to the constitutional turmoil of the 1680s, the Massachusetts government had been dominated by conservative Puritan secular leaders.
Yeah, Massachusetts was pretty wild back in the 80s. It's like, oh yeah, no, the cocaine epidemic, crazy things that was happening around people and stuff. Oh yeah, I bet it was. No. I was talking about back in the day, 1680s. We were burning people alive.
While Puritans and the Church of England both shared a common influence in Calvinism, Puritans had opposed many of the traditions of the Church of England, including use of the Book of Common Prayer, the use of clergy.
Calvinism? You're all good, baby. It's also called Reformed tradition or Reformed Protestantism, is a major branch of Protestantism that followed. I love how Christianity is like a game tree. You can you choose your different branches. Either you want to go attacking, like Protestants, defensive, Baptists, or you go like magical and like Catholicism. And then you go into your other individual branch, and then you start choosing your character arcs. I like that. It's kind of cool. It's like there's a lot of people that complain about just like, what do you like? People, you'll hear a lot of people complain about just like, oh, how am I supposed to know everyone's pronouns? And it's just like, motherfucker, like you go around talking about your titles like you're a knight. Just like I'm a Calvin. I practice in Calvinism under Protestantism. My name is Kyle Smith, fifth of his name. Like, oh my God. You remember your whole lineage, but you can't remember someone's pronouns. I mean, I'm just saying. The Book of Common Prayer. See, I don't want that common item though. I don't want that. I want Book of. What was it? What were they called? Like rare? Yeah. I want Book of Rare Prayer. That's what I want. Like when the book drops from the preacher I just knocked out, I want to see it glow like orange.
The use of clergy vestments during services, the use of sign of the cross at baptism, and kneeling to receive communion, all of which they believed constituted popery. King Charles I was hostile to this viewpoint, and Anglican church officials tried to repress these dissenting views during the 1620s and 1630s. Some Puritans and other religious minorities had sought refuge in the Netherlands, but ultimately many made a major migration to colonial North America to establish their own society.
Sorry, I don't mean to rag on minorities, especially the religious minorities. Like, maybe, you know what? We should listen to them, even though they end up burning people.
These immigrants, who were mostly constituted of families, established several of the earliest colonies in New England, of which the Massachusetts Bay Colony was the largest and most economically important. They intended to build a society based on their religious beliefs. Colonial leaders were elected by the freemen of the colony, those individuals who had had their religious experiences formally examined and had been admitted to one of the colony's Puritan congregations. The colonial leadership were prominent members of their congregations and regularly consulted with the local ministers on issues facing the colony. In the early 1640s, England erupted in civil war.
My dudes were like, if you were to bring them back into the day, just like, so how you guys running your government? Just like, oh no, we like to keep church and state separate. Just like, what? No. You're doing it. I'm sorry, you're doing it all wrong. Like, the church is the state. We make sure the church runs everything. Just like, you know what the ultimate law is? God. All right.
The Puritan-dominated parliamentarians emerged victorious, and the crown was supplanted by the protectorate of Oliver Cromwell in 1653.
I love that. Just like, oh no, they took over the government and the church. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, what? It's like, what's the new thing? Just like, all right. Here's all the new rules. All right. I like how thinking that it's just Boston people taking over England. No, here's the new rules now. All right. So, well, no, these are British people, so we can talk like that. So, besides taking 3 steps to the preacher and then accepting the cookie, we're going to take 2 steps. All right. Why am I going Australian? I'm mixing. They're all getting mixed up now. Yeah, a little bit about business there. Yeah, so now we still go on church on Sundays. We still celebrate the Lord. Yep, save him. But, yeah. We preach to Harold now besides James. That's... So nothing really changed. Well, but now it's pop. But now it's Puritan. Just the name. Just the name.
In Massachusetts, a successful merchant class began to develop that was less religiously motivated than the colony's early settlers. Gender context. An overwhelming majority of people accused and convicted of witchcraft were women, about 78%. Overall, the Puritan belief in prevailing New England culture was that women were inherently sinful and more susceptible to damnation than men were. Throughout their daily lives, Puritans, especially Puritan women, actively attempted to thwart attempts by the devil to overtake them and their souls.
Oh, see, so yeah, it wasn't women's fault. It was just that the devil really wanted to go after women. So that's why we had to burn them all, suppress them, you know, put them through hell itself and stuff. So, I mean, if anything, like, yeah, I GG to women. Like, you guys, right on. Some of you failed, but hey, throughout their daily lives. Jesus.
Indeed, Puritans held the belief that men and women were equal in the eyes of God, but not in the eyes of the devil.
Oh, I like that. Like, baby, no, it's not you. It's not you. It's the devil. Okay, that's why we're burning you, actually. That's why.
Women's souls were seen as unprotected in their weak and vulnerable bodies. Several factors may explain why women were more likely to admit guilt of witchcraft than men. Historian Elizabeth Race asserts that some likely believed they had truly given in to the devil, and others might have believed they had done so temporarily. However, because those who confessed were reintegrated into society, some women might have confessed in order to spare their own lives. Quarrels with neighbors often incited witchcraft allegations. One example of this is Abigail Faulkner, who was accused in 1692. Faulkner admitted she was angry at what folks said, and the devil may have temporarily overtaken her, causing harm to her neighbors. Women who did not conform to the norms of Puritan society were more likely to be the target of an accusation, especially those who were unmarried or did not have children.
Oh, God. That's like, it's almost similar to like, what was it? Like during almost like, was it German times? When like, I think it was like World War I or World War II, where like, it was almost the equivalent of that, where like, if you were single and like you didn't have children, like you were thought of like not as a witch, but as a traitor. So fuck, it really, you really, man, the women.
Publicizing witchcraft. Cotton Mather, a minister of Boston's North Church, was a prolific publisher of pamphlets, including some that expressed his belief in witchcraft. In his book Memorable Providences Relating to Witchcrafts and Possessions, 1689, Mather describes his oracular observations and how stupendous witchcraft had affected the children of Boston Mason John Goodwin. Mather illustrates how the Goodwins' eldest child had been tempted by the devil and had stolen linen from the washerwoman Goody Glover. Glover, of Irish Catholic descent, was characterized as a disagreeable old woman and described by her husband as a witch. This may have been why she was accused of casting spells on the Goodwin children.
Oh my God. Oh shit. That's right. Fucking old. That old goody, that bitch. She be casting spells, I swear. I just hear her talk and I just go into a rage. I don't like it.
After the event, 4 out of 6 Goodwin children began to have strange fits, or what some people referred to as the disease of astonishment. The manifestations attributed to the disease quickly became associated with witchcraft. Symptoms included neck and back pains, tongues being drawn from their throats, and loud random outcries. Other symptoms included having no control over their bodies, such as becoming limber. flapping their arms like birds, or trying to harm others as well as themselves. These symptoms fueled the craze of 1692.
You're telling me people got fucking burned because Billy over here had a temper tantrum? Holy shit. People had no idea what the fuck they were doing back in those days. I like that. I like that. The, what was it? Other symptoms include having no controls over their bodies and arms. You mean the shit I used to do at Walmart when I didn't get my Frosted Flakes? Just like the fucking, like, ragdoll shit you would do to your mom. You would dislocate her elbow or shoulder and stuff, and you would just sit there crying. Oh my god. What if my mom's a witch? I'm gonna make some calls after this. Hey mom, you want to take a trip to Boston real quick?
Timeline. Main article, Timeline of the Salem Witch Trials.
Let's do it.
Events. In Salem Village in February 1692, Betty Parris, age 9, and her cousin Abigail Williams, age 11, the daughter and the niece, respectively, of Reverend Samuel Parris, began to have fits described as beyond the power of epileptic fits or natural disease to effect by John Hale, the minister of the nearby town of Beverly. The girls screamed, threw things about the room, uttered strange sounds, crawled under furniture, and contorted themselves into peculiar positions, according to the eyewitness account of Reverend Deodar Lawson, a former minister in Salem Village. The girls complained of being pinched and pricked with pins. A doctor, historically assumed to be William Griggs, could find no physical evidence of any ailment. Other young women in the village began to exhibit similar behaviors. When Lawson preached as a guest in the Salem Village Meeting House, he was interrupted several times by the outbursts of the afflicted. The first three people accused and arrested for allegedly afflicting Betty Parris, Abigail Williams, 12-year-old Ann Putnam Jr., and Elizabeth Hubbard, were Sarah Goode, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, with Tituba being the first. Some historians believe that the accusation by Ann Putnam Jr. suggests that a family feud may have been a major cause of the witch trial.
How brutal was your life that you had, that you were to go to people, I want my neighbor burned? It's like, I know you're living in Boston, but like Massachusetts, I'm just gonna say Boston. But like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, to the point to where you want to kill your neighbor? Holy shit.
At the time, a vicious rivalry was underway between the Putnam and Porter families, one which deeply polarized the people of Salem. Citizens would often have heated debates, which escalated into full-fledged fighting, based solely on their opinion of the feud. Goode was a destitute woman accused of witchcraft because of her reputation. At her trial, she was accused of rejecting Puritan ideals of self-control and discipline when she chose to torment and scorn children, instead of leading them towards the path of salvation. Sarah Osborne rarely attended church meetings. She was accused of witchcraft because the Puritans believed that Osborne had her own self-interests in mind following her remarriage to an indentured servant. The citizens of the town disapproved of her trying to control her son's inheritance from her previous marriage.
And like, that's the thing too, like, people knew about your shit back in those days. Like, the inheritance? Shit spread like a fucking wildfire. You gotta be kidding me. Like, how could you control that? No idea. Like, and like, you're not even dealing with modern age. You're dealing with just people, like, word of mouth talking shit about you, and then you would go, like, I couldn't. Oh, that is baffling to me.
Tituba, an enslaved South American Indian woman from the West Indies, likely became a target because of her ethnic differences from most of the other villagers. She was accused of attracting girls like Abigail Williams and Betty Parris with stories of enchantment from Malleus Maleficarum. These tales about sexual encounters with demons, swaying the minds of men, and fortune-telling were said to stimulate the imaginations of girls and made Tituba an obvious target of accusations. Each of these women was a kind of outcast and exhibited many of the character traits typical of the usual suspects for witchcraft accusations. They were left to defend themselves.
See, like, what, like, so they were just doing what normal girls always do, what normal kids always do. Yeah, you know, you get your, you know, you always like do the whole, like, specifically, I guess, like, it's just like, you know, you have like the scary stories, like, what was it? Some of them are like kind of a little bit like an adult version of certain stories or something, or fucking like, what was it? The classic, the stupid ones that pull out the full blown Ouija board and stuff, and like parents are just like, ha ha ha. I guess like maybe the people were really smart back then, because like, you know, you watch a bunch of movies and people will welcome demons in left and right. So maybe maybe the Puritans were just like, we're not gonna have, like, there's two sides to the same coin. You have complete ignorance, or you like have over preparedness and you just burn everybody out. It's just like, we need to hit that sweet middle line. Like, okay, is our friend here, what was it? What was her name? Oh, what was it called?
Tituba, an enslaved
Tituba, that was her name. Tituba. Maybe, like, you know, we have her hang out. Just hang out a little bit. You know, see what's up, see what's going on and stuff. Once, you know, she starts bending over backwards, speaking Latin, then maybe we don't hang out with her a little bit more. Okay? Extradite her, let her do her own thing. She starts floating or starts crawling on this ceiling, then we burn her. Okay? I think that's when. Like, I think that's a good, yeah, I got like that. That's your good middle ground there. That's wild, though.
These tales about sexual encounters with demons, swaying the minds of men, and fortune-telling were said to stimulate the imaginations of girls and made Tituba an obvious target of accusations.
Tituba was just reading some fan fiction or reading a manga. Like, that's what it really was. Like some old school type of literature, all right? You read stuff like that nowadays and people are getting into like succubus and stuff like that. Like, it's all, yeah. We literally have a music video of a famous singer lap dancing the devil. You bring a Puritan back in these days and be like, yeah, we need to burn this world.
Each of these women was a kind of outcast and exhibited many of the character traits typical of the usual suspects for witchcraft accusations. They were left to defend themselves. Brought before the local magistrates on the complaint of witchcraft, they were interrogated for several days, starting on March 1, 1692, then sent to jail.
Oh my God, for several days? And how old were they? What was it? Abigail and Betty Paris. They were like 12, right? Or at least some of these girls were. I wish they were. Oh yeah, Abigail Williams and Betty Paris. Yeah. Oh no. Sick shit.
In March, others were accused of witchcraft: Martha Corey, child Dorothy Goode, and Rebecca Nurse in Salem Village, and Rachel Clinton in nearby Ipswich. Martha Corey had expressed skepticism about the credibility of the girls' accusations and thus drawn attention. The charges against her and Rebecca Nurse deeply troubled the community because Martha Corey was a full covenanted member of the church in Salem Village, as was Rebecca Nurse in the church in Salem town. If such upstanding people could be witches, the townspeople thought, then anybody could be a witch, and church membership was no protection from accusation. Dorothy
Everybody's just sitting, just like, hey, whoa, Jebediah, where you going, huh? Didn't see a church yesterday, I got a lighter and some gas. What's up, huh? Might as well just burn this whole place to the ground right now, huh? What's up, Martha? Where were you at Bible study, huh? Huh? What's that? Oh, what, you were sick? What, sick making your potions? Martha. John, where's your wife, huh? It's like, she's pregnant. She's like in labor. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, in labor? What? Oh, she's cloning humans now? Like, whoa! Nobody move. All right? Nobody move. There's a witch. If anybody can be here, it's like, what if it's me? What if I'm a witch? That's exactly what a witch would say.
If such upstanding people could be witches, the townspeople thought, then anybody could be a witch, and church membership was no protection from accusation. Dorothy Goode, the daughter of Sarah Goode, was only 4 years old but was not exempted from questioning by the magistrates. Her answers were construed as a confession that implicated her mother. In Ipswich, Rachel Clinton was arrested for witchcraft at the end of March on independent charges unrelated to the afflictions of the girls in Salem village.
I just hear Clinton. I knew it. They had witch in their blood since the ancestry times.
Accusations and examinations before local magistrates. When Sarah Cloyce, nurse's sister, and Elizabeth Bassett Proctor were arrested in April, they were brought before John Hawthorne and Jonathan Corwin at a meeting in Salem town. The men were both local magistrates and also members of the Governor's Council. Present for the examination were Deputy Governor Thomas Danforth, and Assistants Samuel Sewell, Samuel Appleton, James Russell, and Isaac Addington. During the proceedings, objections by Elizabeth's husband, John Proctor, resulted in his arrest that day. With
Sir, please do not do this. All right, no, we have an alibi, we have evidence pointing to her innocence and stuff like that. You need to let her go. That's exactly what a witch would say. Son of a bitch.
And Deliverance Hobbs, stepmother of Abigail Hobbs, within a week, Giles Corey, Martha's husband and a covenanted church member in Salem town, Abigail Hobbs, Bridget Bishop, Mary Warren, a servant in the Proctor household and sometime accuser, and Deliverance Hobbs, stepmother of Abigail Hobbs, were arrested and examined. Abigail Hobbs, Mary Warren, and Deliverance Hobbs all confessed and began naming additional people as accomplices. More arrests followed.
Whether these people are witches or not, that's up for discussion until like we have a conclusion here. But also just like, I'll tell you, I'll talk, I swear. You know who's also a witch though?
More arrests followed. Sarah Wilds, William Hobbs, husband of Deliverance and father of Abigail, Nehemiah Abbott Jr., Mary Easty, sister of Cloyce and nurse, Edward Bishop Jr. and his wife Sarah Bishop, and Mary English. On April 30th, Reverend George Burroughs, Lydia Dustin, Susanna Martin, Dorcas Hoare, Sarah Morey, and Philip English, Mary's husband, were arrested. Nehemiah Abbott Jr. was released because the accusers agreed he was not the person whose spectre had afflicted them. Mary Easty was released for a few days after her initial arrest because the accusers failed to confirm that it was she who had afflicted them. She was arrested again when the accusers reconsidered. In May...
Oh my God. No, that's all right, miss. Sorry. Don't worry. The accusers, they were able to fail on actually pointing you out on the picket line, so now you should be fine. Go back to your cottage. Immediately as soon as she sits down, bam! Like, ma'am, you are arrested for being a witch. The accuser reconsiders.
In May, accusations continued to pour in, but some of the suspects began to evade apprehension. Multiple warrants were issued before John Willard and Elizabeth Colson were apprehended. George Jacobs Jr. and Daniel Andrews were not caught. Until this point, all the proceedings were investigative, but on May 27, 1692, William Phipps ordered the establishment of a special court of Voyer and Termine for Suffolk, Essex and Middlesex counties to prosecute the cases of those in jail. Warrants were issued for more people. Sarah Osborne, one of the first 3 persons accused, died in jail on May 10, 1692.
Probably died from torture, maybe. That definitely could have been a thing.
Warrants were issued for 36 more people, with examinations continuing to take place in Salem village.
I would love to see like a Cops episode, like Salem version. Bad Puritans, what you want, what you gonna pray. So yeah, we're gonna be coming up. We're gonna be coming up on some witchcraft coming up here. Got a couple eyewitnesses and local clergy coming in. Stop here. Yeah, we're on a high pursuit. We're on a high pursuit chase. Chase on a carriage ride. Person holding 2 kilos of what seems to be witch powder. Yeah, we're gonna be. Man, put that down. Put that down. She's got a wand. She's got a wand. Oh no.
Miss, we got the place surrounded. All right. You either let go of the hostages, or we'll set you, we'll come in peacefully. We just want to let this whole situation go.
Like, I swear, it was just like a couple tangerines that I bought. I don't know what was so weird about it.
Ma'am, you know exactly what you did. Let the hostages go, and we'll reconsider.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right.
Warrants were issued for 36 more people, with examinations continuing to take place in Salem Village. Sarah Dustin, daughter of Lydia Dustin, Ann Sears, Bethia Carter SR and her daughter Bethia Carter Jr., George Jacobs, SR and his granddaughter Margaret Jacobs, John Willard, Alice Parker, Ann Pudiator, Abigail Soames, George Jacobs, Jr., son of George Jacobs, SR and father of Margaret Jacobs,
so many Jacobs.
Daniel
Jesus.
Andrew, Rebecca Jacobs, wife of George
Jacob
Jacobs Jr. and sister
Schmidt.
of Daniel Andrew, Sarah Buckley and her daughter Mary Witheridge. Also included were Elizabeth Colson, Elizabeth Hart, Thomas Farrar, SR, Roger Toothaker, Sarah Proctor, daughter of John and Elizabeth Proctor, Sarah Bassett, sister-in-law of Elizabeth Proctor.
Okay, we're about to get we're about to get the whole lineage. Like, okay, you can see the names here. Pause if you really want to recognize the names. I'm sorry, but it's just like we got a whole document to get through. Okay, let's get back to it. All right, I'm already seeing engraving on some stones. Okay, so this is gonna get wild.
When the Court of Oyer and Termine convened at the end of May, the total number of people in custody was 62. Cotton Mather wrote to one of the judges, John Richards, a member of his congregation, on May 31, 1692, expressing his support of the prosecutions, but cautioning him, "Do not lay more stress on pure spectral evidence than it will bear. It is very certain that the devils have sometimes represented the shapes of persons not only innocent, but also very virtuous, though I believe that the just God then ordinarily provides a way for the speedy vindication of the persons thus abused."
What? The form of legal evidence based upon the testimony of those who claim. Oh, wow, they were using that shit back in the day. Don't lay more stress on pure spectral evidence than it will bear. It is very certain. So what? He's basically saying just like, hey, just because the evidence says that they're okay, watch out. Huh.
Formal prosecution, the Court of Oyer and Termine.
Let's get in
This
it.
section needs additional citations for verification. Please help improve this article by adding citations to reliable sources. Unsourced material may be challenged and removed. April 2016. Learn how and when to remove this template message. The Court of Oyer and Termine convened in Salem town on June 2, 1692, with William Stoughton, the new Lieutenant Governor, as Chief Magistrate, Thomas Newton as the Crown's attorney prosecuting the cases, and Stephen Sewell as clerk. Bridget Bishop's case was the first brought to the grand jury, who endorsed all the indictments against her. Bishop was described as not living a Puritan lifestyle, for she wore black clothing and odd costumes, which was against the Puritan code. When she was examined before her trial, Bishop was asked about her coat, which had been awkwardly cut or torn in 2 ways.
What is this? What is this devilish, blackish dress that you wear? It's Prada. Huh. See, I am an innocent person. I never had to do with witchcraft since I was born. I am a gospel woman. The Lord above knows my innocency. As at the great, did someone misspell on their fucking gravestone? What the hell? The great day will be known to men in English petition to your honors, not for my own life, for I know I must die, and my appointment time is set. But the Lord, he knows it is that if it be possible, no more innocent blood may be shed. If it was the last moment I was to live, God knows I am innocent. Well, burn me or hang me, I will stand in the truth of Christ. I like that. George Jacob is just like, burn me out. Elizabeth, how? How are you, Elizabeth? Okay, let's continue on.
This, along with her immoral lifestyle, affirmed to the jury that Bishop was a witch. She went to trial the same day and was convicted. On June 3, the grand jury endorsed indictments against Rebecca Nurse and John Willard, but they did not go to trial immediately, for reasons which are unclear. Bishop was executed by hanging on June 10, 1692.
I wonder how badass Bishop looked. Like we're talking about like in this garb, but like blacked up. That would be kind of cool. They were just jealous. She had drip and she was just fucking up the style. I'm guessing that's how it went.
Immediately following this execution, the court adjourned for 20 days, until June 30th, while it sought advice from New England's most influential ministers upon the state of things as they then stood. Their collective response came, backdated June 15th and composed by Cotton Mather: the afflicted state of our poor neighbors, that are now suffering by molestations from the invisible world, we apprehend so deplorable, that we think their condition calls for the utmost help of all persons in their several capacities. We cannot but, with all thankfulness, acknowledge the success which the merciful God has given unto the sedulous and assiduous endeavors of our honorable rulers, to detect the abominable witchcrafts which have been committed in the country, humbly praying, that the discovery of those mysterious and mischievous wickednesses may be perfected. We judge that, in the prosecution of these and all such witchcrafts, there is need of a very critical and exquisite caution, lest by too much credulity for things received only upon the devil's authority, there be a door opened for a long train of miserable consequences, and Satan get an advantage over us, for we should not be ignorant of his devices. As in complaints upon witchcrafts, there may be matters of inquiry which do not amount unto matters of presumption, and there may be matters of presumption which yet may not be matters of conviction. So it is necessary, that all proceedings thereabout be managed with an exceeding tenderness towards those that may be complained of, especially if they have been persons formerly of an unblemished reputation. When the first
Just like, all right, so if they're cool, like, they're still, still put them through trial, of course. They could be witches, could be the devil at work. But if they're cool, like, be cool too, all right? Like, don't be a dick. I like that. That's basically what chalked it up to
When
be.
the first inquiry is made into the circumstances of such as may lie under the just suspicion of witchcrafts, we could wish that there may be admitted as little as is possible of such noise, company and openness as may too hastily expose them that are examined, and that there may no thing be used as a test for the trial of the suspected, the lawfulness whereof may be doubted among the people of God, but that the directions given by such judicious writers as Perkins and Bernard be consulted in such a case, presumptions whereupon persons may be committed, and, much more, convictions whereupon persons may be condemned as guilty of witchcrafts, ought certainly to be more considerable than barely the accused persons being represented by a spectre unto the afflicted, inasmuch as it is an undoubted and notorious thing, that a demon may, by God's permission, appear, even to ill purposes, in the shape of an innocent, yea, and a virtuous man. Nor can we esteem alterations made in the sufferers, by a look or touch of the accused, to be an infallible evidence of guilt, but frequently liable to be abused by the devil's legerdemains. We know not whether some remarkable affronts given to the devils by our disbelieving those testimonies whose whole force and strength is from them alone, may not put a period unto the progress of the dreadful calamity begun upon us, in the accusations of so many persons, whereof some, we hope, are yet clear from the great transgression laid unto their charge. Nevertheless, we cannot but humbly recommend unto the government, the speedy and vigorous prosecution of such as have rendered themselves obnoxious, according to the direction given in the laws of God, and the wholesome statutes of the English nation, for the detection of witchcrafts.
So, at least how I'm kind of read all that, it's basically, it's redundant. It's like, very subjective. Just like all on to God. Treat as what you may treat these people.
Hutchinson sums the letter, the two first and the last sections of this advice took away the force of all the others, and the prosecutions went on with more vigor than before. Reprinting the letter years later in Magnalia, Cotton Mather left out these two first and the last sections. Major Nathaniel Saltonstall, Esquire, resigned from the court on or about June 16th.
Fuck that guy. Wow. He took that shit right out. He's just like, it's like, these are not rules, these are just merely guidelines. Yeah. Merely guidelines.
Presumably dissatisfied with the letter and that it had not outright barred the admission of spectral evidence. According to Upham, Saltonstall deserves the credit for being the only public man of his day who had the sense or courage to condemn the proceedings. At the start, Chapter 7, more people were accused, arrested and examined, but now in Salem town, by former local magistrates John Hawthorne, Jonathan Corwin, and Bartholomew Gedney, who had become judges of the Court of Voyer and Termine. Suspect Roger Toothaker died in prison on June 16, 1692. Damn. From June 30 through early July, grand juries endorsed indictments against Sarah Goode, Elizabeth Howe, Susanna Martin, Elizabeth Proctor, John Proctor, Martha Carrier, Sarah Wilds, and Dorcas Hoare. Sarah Goode, Elizabeth Howe, Susanna Martin, and Sarah Wilds, along with Rebecca Nurse, went to trial at this time, where they were found guilty. All 5 women were executed by hanging on July 19, 1692. In mid-July, the constable in Andover invited the afflicted girls from Salem village to visit with his wife to try to determine who was causing her afflictions. Anne Foster, her daughter Mary Lacey S.R., and granddaughter Mary Lacey Jr. all confessed to being witches. Anthony Checkley was appointed by Governor Phipps to replace Thomas Newton as the Crown's attorney when Newton took an appointment in New Hampshire. In August, grand juries indicted George Burroughs, Mary Easty, Martha Corey, and George Jacobs. Senior trial juries convicted Martha Carrier, George Jacobs, S.R., George Burroughs, John Willard, Elizabeth Proctor, and John Proctor. Elizabeth Proctor was given a temporary stay of execution because she was pregnant. On August 19, 1692, Martha Carrier, George Jacobs S.R., George Burroughs, John Willard, and John Proctor were executed.
I love that. Just like, wait, no, she has life. She's carrying life. Before we take her life, let's make sure she carries this life. Oh, God.
Mr. Burroughs was carried in a cart with others, through the streets of Salem, to execution. When he was upon the ladder, he made a speech for the clearing of his innocency, with such solemn and serious expressions as were to the admiration of all present. His prayer, which he concluded by repeating the Lord's Prayer, as witches were not supposed to be able to recite, was so well worded, and uttered with such composedness as such fervency of spirit, as was very affecting, and drew tears from many, so that it seemed to some that the spectators would hinder the execution. The accusers said the black man, devil, stood and dictated to him. As soon as he was turned off, hanged, Mr. Cotton Mather, being mounted upon a horse, addressed himself to the people, partly to declare that he, Mr. Burroughs, was no ordained minister, partly to possess the people of his guilt, saying that the devil often had been transformed into the angel of light, and this did somewhat appease the people, and the executions went on. When he, Mr. Burroughs, was cut down, he was dragged by a halter to a hole, or grave, between the rocks, about 2 feet deep, his shirt and breeches being pulled off, and an old pair of trousers of one executed put on his lower parts. He was so put in, together with Willard and Carrier, that one of his hands, and his chin, and the foot of one of them, was left uncovered. Robert Calif, more.
That's so fucked. My dude is just like, wait a minute. They're like, wait a minute. He's like, he shouldn't be able to say the prayer. So he's human, just like, ma'am. The devil. Oh, Oh God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, fuck yeah. Like, you could just chalk it up to the devil. Just like to explain innocence or guilt. Just like, no, he's like saying everything right. He's saying like he's all good. Just like, oh well, it could be the devil. You thought about that, hmm? Just like, sir, why shouldn't, like, preacher, why shouldn't we accuse you of murdering this woman? Ah, it was the devil, sir. It was not me. I was just simply possessed. But now I have extricated the demon out of me. Yeah, it sounds good to me. Glad to see you back. My gosh. Some super crazy stuff. That's pretty hilarious. Like, it's all fucked. That's just like awful. People using the word of God like that. Just like to make sure that they're staying okay. Ooh, we got a specific date.
September 1692. In September, grand juries indicted 18 more people. The grand jury failed to indict William Proctor, who was rearrested on new charges. On September 19, 1692, Giles Corey refused to plead at arraignment, and was killed by pianoforte et dure, a form of torture in which the subject is pressed beneath an increasingly heavy load of stones, in an attempt to make him enter a plea. 4 pleaded guilty and 11 others were tried and found guilty.
Oh my God. Was a method of torture formerly subject to having heavier and heavier stone placed upon his or her chest until the plea was entered or death resulted. Yo, honestly though, they need to bring that back for some of these corporations, huh? Hey, I'm just saying. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You want to? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You want to settle? All right, you're gonna have to settle this boulder on your chest. Oh my! 4 pleaded guilty and 11 others were tried and found guilty. It's like, I'm innocent. All right, we'll see what old Big Betsy has to say. She lays upon and crushes your ribs.
On September 20th,
I'm guilty.
On September 20th, Cotton Mather wrote to Stephen Sewell, that I may be the more capable to assist in lifting up a standard against the infernal enemy, requesting a narrative of the evidence given in at the trials of half a dozen, or if you please, a dozen, of the principal witches that have been condemned. On September 22, 1692, 8 more persons were executed. After execution, Mr. Noyes, turning him to the bodies, said, "What a sad thing it is to see 8 firebrands of hell hanging there." Dorcas Hoare was given a temporary reprieve, with the support of several ministers, to make a confession of being a witch. Mary Bradbury, aged 77, managed to escape with the help of family and friends.
Oh, hell
Abigail
yeah.
Faulkner, SR, was pregnant and given a temporary reprieve. Some reports from that era say that Abigail's reprieve later became a stay of charges. Mather quickly completed his account of the trials, Wonders of the Invisible World, and it was given to Phipps when he returned from the fighting in Maine in early October. Burr says both Phipps' letter and Mather's manuscript must have gone to London by the same ship in mid-October. I hereby declare that as soon as I came from fighting, and understood what danger some of their innocent subjects might be exposed to, if the evidence of the afflicted persons only did prevail either to the committing or trying any of them, I did before any application was made unto me about it put a stop to the proceedings of the court, and they are now stopped till their majesties' pleasure be known. Governor Phipps, Boston, October 12, 1692. On October 29, Judge Sewell wrote, "The Court of Oyer and Termine count themselves thereby dismissed." Asked whether the Court of Oyer and Termine should sit, expressing some fear of inconvenience by its fall, the governor said it must fall. Perhaps by coincidence, Governor Phipps' own wife, Lady Mary Phipps, was among those who had been called out upon around this time. After Phipps' order, there were no more executions.
Yeah, as soon as the governor got his wife, just like, honey, they're gonna like execute me, and just like, maybe we should cut this out. Maybe we should just calm this down. Sorry. Maybe a lot of these people were actually pretty innocent.
Superior Court of Judicature, 1693. This
Judicature.
section does not cite any sources. Please help improve this section by adding citations to reliable sources. Unsourced material may be challenged and removed. April 2016, learn how and when to remove this template message. In January 1693, the new Superior Court of Judicature, Court of Assize and General Jail, Delivery convened in Salem, Essex County, again headed by William Stoughton, as Chief Justice, with Anthony Checkley continuing as the Attorney General, and Jonathan Ilatson as Clerk of the Court. The first 5 cases tried in January 1693 were of the 5 people who had been indicted but not tried in September: Sarah Buckley, Margaret Jacobs, Rebecca Jacobs, Mary Whitteridge, or Witheridge, and Job Tookey. All were found not guilty. Grand juries were held for many of those remaining in jail. Charges were dismissed against many, but 16 more people were indicted and tried, 3 of whom were found guilty: Elizabeth Johnson Jr., Sarah Wardwell, and Mary Post. When Stoughton wrote the warrants for the execution of these 3 and others remaining from the previous court, Governor Phipps issued pardons, sparing their lives. In late January early February, the court sat again in Charlestown, Middlesex County, and held grand juries and tried 5 people: Sarah Cole of Lynn, Lydia Dustin and Sarah Dustin, Mary Taylor, and Mary Toothaker. All were found not guilty but were not released until they paid their jail fees. Lydia Dustin died in jail on March 10, 1693. At the end of April...
Fuck that! That's awful! They kept them in jail, even though they're just like, no, you're innocent. Just like, oh yeah, let me go home then. I'm like, asshole. Just like, you gotta pay rent. Damn, she died in jail. Fuck. It goes to show, like, I'm wondering, like, what other stuff like happened while they're in jail, like lack of food or just overall being tortured. Oh, it's awful.
At the end of April, the court convened in Boston, Suffolk County, and cleared Captain John Alden by proclamation. It heard charges against a servant girl, Mary Watkins, for falsely accusing her mistress of witchcraft. In May, the court convened in Ipswich, Essex County, and held a variety of grand juries. They dismissed charges against all but 5 people: Susanna Post, Eunice Fry, Mary Bridges Jr., Mary Barker and William Barker Jr. were all found not guilty at trial, finally putting an end to the series of trials and executions. Legal procedures. Overview. After someone concluded that a loss, illness, or death had been caused by witchcraft, the accuser entered a complaint against the alleged witch with the local magistrates. If the complaint was deemed credible, the magistrates had the person arrested and brought in for a public examination, essentially an interrogation where the magistrates pressed the accused to confess. If the magistrates at this local level were satisfied that the complaint was well-founded, the prisoner was handed over to be dealt with by a superior court. In 1692, the magistrates opted to wait for the arrival of the new charter and governor, who would establish a court of voir and termine to handle these cases. The next step, at the superior court level, was to summon witnesses before a grand jury. A person could be indicted on charges of afflicting with witchcraft, or for making an unlawful covenant with the devil. Once indicted, the defendant went to trial, sometimes on the same day, as in the case of the first person indicted and tried on June 2nd, Bridget Bishop, who was executed 8 days later, on June 10, 1692. There were 4 execution dates, with 1 person executed on June 10, 1692, 5 executed on July 19, 1692, Sarah Goode, Rebecca Nurse, Susanna Martin, Elizabeth Howe and Sarah Wilds. Another 5 executed on August 19, 1692, Martha Carrier, John Willard, George Burroughs, George Jacobs, S.R., and John Proctor, and 8 on September 22, 1692, Mary Easty, Martha Corey, Amphitheater, Samuel Wardwell, Mary Parker, Alice Parker, Wilmot Red and Margaret Scott. Several others, including Elizabeth Bassett, Proctor and Abigail Faulkner, were convicted but given temporary reprieves because they were pregnant. 5 other women were convicted in 1692, but the death sentence was never carried out: Mary Bradbury, in absentia, Anne Foster, who later died in prison, Mary Lacey S.R., Foster's daughter, Dorcas Hoare and Abigail Hobbs.
Holy shit, that is the thing. Oh my god. Hold up. Copy this image. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Oh my God, that's them crushing her. Or at least like a drawn depiction of it. Do you play guilty? Never. Oh my God. Oh. That's brutal. Simply just being crushed to death. And this was just like this is all happening in the public square. Fuck me. That's awful. That's awful.
Giles Corey, an 81-year-old farmer from the southeast end of Salem, called Salem Farms, refused to enter a plea when he came to trial in September. The judges applied an archaic form of punishment called pina forte et dure, in which stones were piled on his chest until he could no longer breathe. After 2 days of pina forte et dure, Corey died without entering a plea.
Oh my God. Like was it 2 straight days? Because I would understand maybe the first couple times it was like kind of like a weighted blanket, like, oh, this might be actually kind of nice. Unless they like took it off and be like, oh, we're gonna come back here next day and start crushing you again. Holy shit.
His refusal to plead is usually explained as a way of preventing his estate from being confiscated by the Crown, but, according to historian Chadwick Hanson, much of Corey's property had already been seized, and he had made a will in prison. His death was a protest against the methods of the court. A contemporary critic of the trials, Robert Califf, wrote, Giles Corey pleaded not guilty to his indictment, but would not put himself upon trial by the jury, they having cleared none upon trial, and knowing there would be the same witnesses against him, rather chose to undergo what death they would put him to. As convicted witches, Rebecca Nurse and Martha Corey had been excommunicated from their churches and denied proper burials. As soon as the bodies of the accused were cut down from the trees, they were thrown into a shallow grave, and the crowd dispersed. Oral history claims that the families of the dead reclaimed their bodies after dark and buried them in unmarked graves on family property. The record books of the time do not note the deaths of any of those executed.
Fuck, that's awful. And you gotta think like the families too, trying to come in and like, oh, that's brutal.
Spectral Evidence. Main article, Spectral Evidence. Much,
Thank you.
but not all, of the evidence used against the accused, was spectral evidence, or the testimony of the afflicted who claimed to see the apparition or the shape of the person who was allegedly afflicting them. The theological dispute that ensued about the use of this evidence was based on whether a person had to give permission to the devil for his or her shape to be used to afflict.
Oh, it's like cops using probable cause. Got it. Oh yeah, no, I see. So it's just mod. So back in the day it was spectral evidence, but now it's probable cause. Understood.
Opponents claimed that the devil was able to use anyone's shape to afflict people, but the court contended that the devil could not use a person's shape without that person's permission. Therefore, when the afflicted claimed to see the apparition of a specific person, that was accepted as evidence that the accused had been complicit with the devil. Cotton Mather's The Wonders of the Invisible World was written with the purpose to show how careful the court was in managing the trials. Unfortunately, the work did not get released until after the trials had already ended. In his book, Mather explained how he felt spectral evidence was presumptive and that it alone was not enough to warrant a conviction. Robert Califf, a strong critic of Cotton Mather, stated in his own book titled More Wonders of the Invisible World that by confessing, an accused would not be brought to trial, such as in the cases of Tituba and Dorcas Goode. Increase Mather and other ministers sent a letter to the court, the return of several ministers consulted, urging the magistrates not to convict on spectral evidence alone. The court later ruled that spectral evidence was inadmissible, which caused a dramatic reduction in the rate of convictions and may have hastened the end of the trials. A copy of this letter was printed in Increase Mather's Cases of Conscience, published in 1693. The publication A Trial of Witches, related to the 1662 Bury St. Edmunds witch trial, was used by the magistrates at Salem when looking for a precedent in allowing spectral evidence. Since the jurist Sir Matthew Hale had permitted this evidence, supported by the eminent philosopher, physician and author Thomas Browne, to be used in the Bury St. Edmunds witch trial and the accusations against two Lowestoft women, the colonial magistrates also accepted its validity and their trials proceeded.
That's kind of, oh my god, that's so fucking frustrating. On just like the whole concept of just like using the devil as then just like the devil permitted them to like, so you didn't even like have to like get into like witchcraft or anything like that. It was just simply the factor of like, you acted sus, so now we're gonna kill you. That's about it. Everyone was imposter, witches, mafia, whichever game that you want to throw out your reference to. It was just fucking it up. Witch cake. We talking about witch booty? That witch cake? I mean, that might have casted some spell on some guys. Like, that's the thing too. I wonder how much of this was like, like guys cheating and then just like, she casted a spell on me, your officer.
Witch cake. According to a March 27, 1692 entry by Paris in the records of the Salem village church, a church member and close neighbor of Reverend Paris, Mary Sibley, aunt of Mary Walcott, directed John Indian, a man enslaved by Paris, to make a witch cake. This may have been a superstitious attempt to ward off evil spirits. According to an account attributed to Deodar Lawson, collected by Deodar Lawson, this happened around March 8. Over a week after the first complaints had gone out and 3 women were arrested. Lawson's account describes this cake as a means to discover witchcraft and provides other details such as that it was made from rye meal and urine from the afflicted girls and was fed to a dog. In the church records, Paris describes speaking with Sibley privately on March 25, 1692, about her grand error and accepted her sorrowful confession. After the main sermon on March 27, and the wider congregation was dismissed, Paris addressed covenanted church members about it and admonished all the congregation against going to the devil for help against the devil. He stated that while calamities that had begun in his own household...
You see, these people tried to fight fire with fire, and that was just not going to help them.
His own household did never break forth to any considerable light, until diabolical means were used, by the making of a cake by my Indian man, who had his direction from this our sister, Mary Sibley. This doesn't seem to square with Lawson's account dating it around March 8. The first complaints were February 29 and the first arrests were March 1. Traditionally, the allegedly afflicted girls are said to have been entertained by Paris' slave, Tituba. A variety of secondary sources.
Just like me trying to introduce the kids to D&D, the kids. Oh my god. Just like, just any kind of just a factor of just like the family, me.
A variety of secondary sources, starting with Charles W. Upham in the 19th century, typically relate that a circle of the girls, with Tituba's help, tried their hands at fortune-telling. They used the white of an egg and a mirror to create a primitive crystal ball to divine the professions of their future spouses and scared one another when one supposedly saw the shape of a coffin instead. The story is drawn from John Hale's book about the trials, but in his account, only one of the girls, not a group of them, had confessed to him afterward that she had once tried this. Hale did not mention Tituba as having any part of it, nor did he identify when the incident took place. But the record of Tituba's pre-trial examination holds her giving an energetic confession, speaking before the court of creatures who inhabit the invisible world, and the dark rituals which bind them together in service of Satan, implicating both Good and Osborne while asserting that many other people in the colony were engaged in the devil's conspiracy against the Bay. Tituba's race has often been described in later accounts as of Carib Indian or African descent, but contemporary sources describe her only as an Indian. Research by Elaine Breslaw has suggested that Tituba may have been captured in what is now Venezuela and brought to Barbados, and so may have been an Arawak Indian. Other slightly later descriptions of her, by Governor Thomas Hutchinson writing his History of the Massachusetts Bay Colony in the 18th century, describe her as a Spanish Indian. In that day, that typically meant a Native American from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida.
Oh, so she was a Floridian. Of course she was a witch. Of course. I mean, that explains it. She was the OG Florida woman. Okay.
Touch test. The most infamous application of the belief in effluvia was the touch test used in Andover during preliminary examinations in September 1692. Paris had explicitly warned his congregation against such examinations. If the accused witch touched the victim while the victim was having a fit, and the fit stopped, observers believed that meant the accused was the person who had afflicted the victim. As several of those accused later recounted, "We were blindfolded, and our hands were laid upon the afflicted persons, they being in their fits and falling into their fits at our coming into their presence, as they said. Some led us and laid our hands upon them, and then they said they were well and that we were guilty of afflicting them, whereupon we were all seized, as prisoners, by a warrant from the justice of the peace and forthwith carried to Salem." The Reverend John Hale explained how this supposedly worked. The witch by the cast of her eye sends forth a malefic venom into the bewitched to cast him into a fit, and therefore the touch of the hand doth by sympathy cause that venom to return into the body of the witch again. Other evidence.
Just imagine, like, and so just imagine if you self-accuse someone of just like, no, like, officer, I swear, she sent me into a fit. I'm into a fit right now. Just, I'm losing it. I'm fucking crazy. She goes up and touches him, and then touches him just like, oh, I feel fine. Oh, my. How fucked would that be? Your evidence, like the person who's who's going to be depicting if you're gonna be burned alive or not or hanged, is the person accusing you. Fuck out of here. Get fucked.
Other evidence included the confessions of the accused, testimony by a confessed witch who identified others as witches, the discovery of poppets, books of palmistry and horoscopes, or pots of ointments in the possession or home of the accused, and observation of what were called witches' teats on the body of the accused. A witch's teat was said to be a mole or blemish somewhere on the body that was insensitive to touch. Discovery of such insensitive areas was considered de facto evidence of witchcraft.
That was sensitive to touch. So they were tickling them. It's like, if you laugh, you lose. They were doing the original laugh, you lose. You laugh, you die. And what's this? What's this mole here? What's this mole? Oh my God.
Primary sources and early discussion. Puritan ministers throughout the Massachusetts Bay Colony were exceedingly interested in the trial. Several traveled to Salem in order to gather information about the trial. After witnessing the trials firsthand and gathering accounts, these ministers presented various opinions about the trial starting in 1692. Theodore Lawson, a former minister in Salem Village, visited Salem Village in March and April 1692. The resulting publication, entitled A Brief and True Narrative of Some Remarkable Passages Relating to Sundry Persons Afflicted by Witchcraft, at Salem Village, which happened from the 19th of March to the 5th of April 1692, was published while the trials were ongoing and relates evidence meant to convict the accused. Simultaneous with Lawson, William Milbourne, a Baptist minister in Boston, publicly petitioned the General Assembly in early June 1692, challenging the use of spectral evidence by the court. Milbourne had to post £200 bond, equal to £31,541, or about $42,000 today, or be arrested for contriving, writing and publishing the said scandalous papers. The most famous primary source about the trials is Cotton Mather's Wonders of the Invisible World, being an account of the trials of several witches, lately executed in New England, printed in October.
What's up with these assholes, like, doing complete sentence titles? Alright, never mind.
This text had a tortured path to publication. Initially conceived as a promotion of the trials and a triumphant celebration of Mather's leadership, Mather had to rewrite the text and disclaim personal involvement as suspicion about spectral evidence started to build. Regardless, it was published in both Boston and London, with an introductory letter of endorsement by William Stoughton, the Chief Magistrate. The book included accounts of 5 trials, with much of the material copied directly from the court records, which were supplied to Mather by Stephen Sewell, a clerk in the court. Cotton Mather's father, Increase Mather, completed Cases of Conscience Concerning Evil Spirits at the same time as Wonders and published it in November 1692. This book was intended to judiciously acknowledge the growing doubts about spectral evidence, while still maintaining the accuracy of Cotton's rewritten, whitewashed text. Like his son, Increase minimized his personal involvement, although he included the full text of his August petition to the Salem court in support of spectral evidence. Judging from the apologetic tone of Cases of Conscience that the moral panic had subsided, Thomas Brattle directly ridiculed the superstitions of Salem and Increase's defense of his son in an open letter notable for its openly sarcastic tone. Samuel Willard, minister of the Third Church in Boston, was a one-time strong supporter of the trials and of spectral evidence, but became increasingly concerned as the Mathers crushed dissent. Writing anonymously to conceal his dissent, he published a short tract entitled Some Miscellany Observations on Our Present Debates Respecting Witchcrafts, in a dialogue between S and B. The authors were listed as P, E and J. A, Philip English and John Alden, but the work is generally attributed to Willard. In it, 2 characters, S, Salem, and B, Boston, discuss the way the proceedings were being conducted, with B urging caution about the use of testimony from the afflicted and the confessors, stating, whatever comes from them is to be suspected, and it is dangerous using or crediting them too far. This book lists its place of publication as Philadelphia, but it is believed to have been secretly printed in Boston. Aftermath and closure. Although the last trial was held in May 1693, public response to the events continued. In the decades following the trials, survivors and family members, and their supporters, sought to establish the innocence of the individuals who were convicted and to gain compensation. In the following centuries, the descendants of those unjustly accused and condemned have sought to honor their memories. Events in Salem and Danvers in 1992 were used to commemorate the trials. In November 2001, years after the celebration of the 300th anniversary of the trials, the Massachusetts legislature passed an act exonerating all who had been convicted and naming each of the innocent. The trials have figured in American culture and been explored in numerous works of art, literature, and film.
Hell yeah. That's hilarious though. 300th anniversary of the trials. You know what? I think they're all pretty good. I think they're fine.
Reversals have attained and compensation to the survivors and their families.
Yeah,
the first indication that public calls for justice were not over occurred in 1695 when Thomas Mowley, a noted Quaker, publicly criticized the handling of the trials by the Puritan leaders in chapter 29 of his book Truth Held Forth and Maintained, expanding on Increase Mather by stating, "It were better that 100 witches should live, than that one person be put to death for a witch, which is not a witch." For publishing this book, Mowley was imprisoned 12 months before he was tried and found not guilty. On December 17th...
God. Like, I was just thinking, I'm like, how exhausting would it be just to read a damn book? Just to get someone's, like, whole opinion on that. And granted, I guess people were just reading out their ass back in the day because he was in prison. Oh my God. I know people are today get imprisoned by, you know, publishing literature, but it's just like, usually it's all about like the title of it that gets your attention.
On December 17, 1696, the General Court ruled that there would be a fast day on January 14, 1697, referring to the late tragedy, raised among us by Satan and his instruments. On that day, Samuel Sewell asked Reverend Samuel Willard to read aloud his apology to the congregation of Boston's South Church, to take the blame and shame of the late Commission of Voyer and Termine at Salem. Thomas Fiske and 11 other trial jurors also asked forgiveness. From 1693-97, Robert Calough, a weaver and a cloth merchant in Boston, collected correspondence, court records and petitions, and other accounts of the trials, and placed them, for contrast, Alongside portions of Cotton Mather's Wonders of the Invisible World, under the title More Wonders of the Invisible World, Caliph could not get it published in Boston and he had to take it to London, where it was published in 1700. Scholars of the trials Hutchinson, Upham, Burr, and even Poole have relied on Caliph's compilation of documents. John Hale, a minister in Beverley who was present at many of the proceedings, had completed his book, A Modest Inquiry into the Nature of Witchcraft in 1697, which was not published until 1702, after his death, and perhaps in response to Caliph's book. Expressing regret over the actions taken, Hale admitted, such was the darkness of that day, the tortures and lamentations of the afflicted, and the power of former presidents, that we walked in the clouds, and could not see our way. Various petitions were filed between 1700 and 1703 with the Massachusetts government, demanding that the convictions be formally reversed. Those tried and found guilty were considered dead in the eyes of the law, and with convictions still on the books, those not executed were vulnerable to further accusations. The General Court initially reversed the attainder only for those who had filed petitions. Only 3 people who had been convicted but not executed, Abigail Faulkner S.R., Elizabeth Proctor, and Sarah Wardwell. In 1703, another petition was filed, requesting a more equitable settlement for those wrongly accused, but it was not until 1709, when the General Court received a further request, that it took action on this proposal. In May 1709, 22 people who had been convicted of witchcraft, or whose relatives had been convicted of witchcraft, presented the government with a petition in which they demanded both the reversal of attainder and compensation for financial losses.
And like this got, what was it? This is back in 1709. That shit happened back in 1709. Almost 10 years later. Jesus. Almost 10 whole years later, you finally got something. Or at least I know you were able to get the petition to hopefully get it reversed.
Repentance was evident within the Salem village church. Reverend Joseph Green and the members of the church voted on February 14, 1703, after nearly 2 months of consideration, to reverse the excommunication of Martha Corey. On August 25, 1706, when Ann Putnam Jr., one of the most active accusers, joined the Salem village church, she publicly asked forgiveness. She claimed that she had not acted out of malice, but had been deluded by Satan into denouncing innocent people, mentioning Rebecca Nurse, in particular, and was accepted for full membership. On October...
Wow. She totally came back to the church and just asked, just like, no, please, bring me back. Like, yeah, I snitched on a couple innocent people. But, you know, it was the devil. So please, I want to be back at church, please.
On October 17, 1711, the General Court passed a bill reversing the judgment against the 22 people listed in the 1709 petition. There were 7 additional people who had been convicted but had not signed the petition, but there was no reversal of attainder for them. 2 months later, on December 17, 1711, Governor Joseph Dudley authorized monetary compensation to the 22 people in the 1709 petition. The amount of £578.12 was authorized to be divided among the survivors and relatives of those accused, and most of the accounts were settled within a year, but Philip English's extensive claims were not settled until 1718. Finally, on March 6, 1712, Reverend Nicholas Noyes and members of the Salem Church reversed Noyes' earlier excommunications of Rebecca Nurse and Giles Corey.
Wow, my boy, that got crushed. Damn. It's fucking brutal.
Memorials. Rebecca Nurse's descendants erected a novelist-shaped granite memorial in her memory in 1885 on the grounds of the Nurse homestead in Danvers, with an inscription from John Greenleaf Whittier. In 1892, an additional monument was erected in honor of 40 neighbors who signed a petition in support of Nurse. Not all the condemned had been exonerated in the early 18th century. In 1957, descendants of the 6 people who had been wrongly convicted and executed but who had not been included in the bill for a reversal of attainder in 1711, or added to it in 1712, demanded that the General Court formally clear the names of their ancestral family members. An act was passed pronouncing the innocence of those accused, although it listed only Anpudiator by name. The others were listed only as certain other persons, phrasing which failed specifically to name Bridget Bishop, Susanna Martin, Alice Parker, Wilma Tredd, and Margaret Scott.
You know, those other people on the list. I'm not. Fuck off. Like, and again, it's been over 10 years. Get over it.
The 300th anniversary of the trials was marked in 1992 in Salem and Danvers by a variety of events. A memorial park was dedicated in Salem which included stone slab benches inserted in the stone wall of the park for each of those executed in 1692. Speakers at the ceremony in August included playwright Arthur Miller and Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel. Danvers erected its own new memorial, and reinterred bones unearthed in the 1950s, assumed to be those of George Jacobs, S.R., in a new resting place at the Rebecca Nurse homestead. In 1992, the Danvers Tercentennial Committee also persuaded the Massachusetts House of Representatives to issue a resolution honoring those who had died. After extensive efforts by Paula Keene, a Salem school teacher, state representatives J. Michael Ruane and Paul Tyrone, along with others, issued a bill whereby the names of all those not previously listed were to be added to this resolution. When it was finally signed on October 31, 2001, by Governor Jane Swift, more than 300 years later, all were finally proclaimed innocent. Land in the area was purchased by the city of Salem in 1936 and renamed Witch Memorial Land, but no memorial was constructed on the site, and popular misconception persisted that the executions had occurred at the top of Gallows Hill. Rebecca Eames of Boxford, who was brought to Salem for questioning, stated that she was held at the house below the hill where she could see people attending executions. This helped researchers rule out the summit as the execution site. In January 2016, the University of Virginia announced its project team had determined the execution site on Gallows Hill in Salem, where 19 witches had been hanged in public. Members of the Gallows Hill project had worked with the city of Salem using old maps and documentation, as well as sophisticated GIS and ground-penetrating radar technology, to survey the area of what became known as Proctor's Ledge, located at the base of the hill, which they say was easier for spectators to reach than the top of Gallows Hill. The city owns the property and dedicated the Proctor's Ledge Memorial to the victims there in 2017. A documentary, Gallows Hill, 19, is in production about these events.
Ooh, I wonder if they're still doing it.
In literature, media and popular
Gallows Hill,
culture,
19.
main article, Cultural Depictions of the Salem Witch Trials. The story of the witchcraft accusations, trials and executions has captured the imagination of writers and artists in the centuries since the event took place. Their earliest impactful use as the basis for an item of popular fiction is the 1828 novel Rachel Dyer by John Neal. Many interpretations have taken liberties with the facts of the historical episode in the name of literary and/or artistic license. As the trials took place at the intersection between a gradually disappearing medieval past and an emerging Enlightenment, and dealt with torture and confession, some interpretations draw attention to the boundaries between the medieval and the post-medieval as cultural constructions. Most recently, the events of the Salem witch trials were interpreted in the 2018 exploitation teen comedy film Assassination Nation, which changed the setting to the present United States and added thick social commentary in order to underline the absurdity of the actual events. Medical theories about the reported afflictions.
I'll have to check that
Main
out.
article, Medical and Psychological Explanations of Bewitchment. The cause of the symptoms of those who claimed affliction continues to be a subject of interest. Various medical and psychological explanations for the observed symptoms have been explored by researchers, including psychological hysteria in response to Indian attacks, convulsive ergotism
Native
caused by
American.
eating rye bread made from grain infected by the fungus Claviceps purpurea, a natural substance from which LSD is derived, an epidemic of bird-borne encephalitis lethargica, and sleep paralysis to explain the nocturnal attacks alleged by some of the accusers. Some modern historians are less inclined to focus on biological explanations, preferring instead to explore motivations such as jealousy, spite, and a need for attention to explain the behavior.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. Need for attention. Is there? Attention seeking. Yeah. Yeah, people just want attention and they want to kill their neighbors. Or they were really fucking high. That's funny. Yeah, because like, you know, that, and again, like, yeah, that was like some of the factors of it was like some people were actually like having like hallucinogens and like really like getting fucked over. But besides like going through the medical factor of it, they were just like, this is devil. This is the devil. Which trial really modern time? That's some wild. It's wild shit on just like how much of like was that specular evidence and stuff. It gets crazy on just like the accusations that just keep happening to these poor people, and of course some of it being women. It was just like the concept of that just destroying them and like them not having any word for it, and like it's just another part of history of just how women, like women in general, were just getting manipulated into these certain parts and then forced. And then what was awful about it too is like some of them were forced to do the worst thing and tell other people like, oh, they're witches. And then you literally had that Office meme of just everybody like holding guns out, ready to go ham. And yeah, it's just like, oh, it's all subjective and like spectral evidence and stuff like that. It's just like, I couldn't imagine that. I love, what was it? I copied it and it made me chuckle. This whole, this piece of work right here. I love it. Hold up. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Oh, and is my shit acting up now? It probably is. Come on now, don't be weird. Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have ourselves a little bit of a problem here. Oh, no, I think we're good. Wait, did I exit out of it? Oh, I don't know. This is acting weird, but okay. But this whole factor of it was like, oh shit, like a whole lightning bolt. My man fainted, and everyone else is looking up. It looked like she like popped the whoa. Oh, and I'm just like, yeah. What was it? It was like yeah, yee. Couldn't imagine that. That is pretty funny though. Let's see here. All my stuff is acting weird now, of course. That's pretty wild though that like it doesn't. Don't save. But let's see here. First off. Okay. Yeah, we should be good now. All right, cool. I got a nice little video for us to watch. All right. This is Salem Witch Trials, publication of 1955. Yeah, this is a reenactment with on-the-spot interviews of key persons who interpret the events surrounding the Salem witch trials of 1692. So, yeah, that should be fun. Now, mind you, the audio is a little crusty. All right.
The Salem witch trials. You are there.
Ooh,
For the
boy.
Crime Guide reporting, August 1692. A ferment of hysteria and fear has been seething in the little Massachusetts colony village of Salem. Since spring, several villagers there have faced trial for witchcraft. Hangings have occurred, new convictions multiply, and the atmosphere of suspicion and terror deepens. But while
These are terrorists, ladies and gentlemen. These are witchcraft terrorists, and we are going to be going to live in the situation.
scenes of confusion sometimes occur in Salem Meeting Hall when the trials are being held, the court must often be dismissed
Oh, my
to
God.
restore order. The accusations have all been made by a group of girls ranging in age from 9 to 20 who claim to be tormented and tempted by certain people, and they cry out on them as witches or wizards. England, the mother country, has burned 20,000 witches, Spain 25,000, France 30,000, and in Germany, no less than 75,000 souls have been burned.
Germany! How dare you? Oh my... No, we don't do that. You are supposed to be the... I mean, like, now... You know, I'm not... I have nothing to say to you, Germany. You've...
Burned alive for commerce with the devil. Nobody can
With
guess
the
how
devil.
far it will go in the new world, while everybody stands in growing fear of the pointing fingers and the outcries of the afflicted children. Last year, the charter of the Massachusetts Statutes of James I, which called penalty for witchcraft. Governor Sir William Phipps to try the
fuck is
witches
happening?
established
Oh
the
my
court
God.
of Oyer and Terminer, thought by experts to be illegal. But no one in the colony dares lift his voice against the proceedings in Salem. For a first-hand report of the trials, we take you to Salem, Massachusetts colony. All things are as they were then, except you are there.
This is Todd Hunter. We're in the Salem Meeting Hall at the witch trial of the Reverend George Burroughs. The prisoner was cried out upon by these children, whose testimony has sent many to the gallows already, while others stand accused and await trial. This is Ann Putnam, age 12, daughter of Sergeant Thomas Putnam, the clerk of the parish. Ann Putnam's testimony has been predominant in the conviction of the other witches. Mary Walcott Knitting is the daughter of the deacon of the parish. The others are Mercy Lewis, Elizabeth Hubbard, and Abigail Smith.
Like, what's up?
Yes,
Like,
there is
they need the
Justice
big
William
hairspray.
Dalton, followed by Judge John Haythorne.
Like, I'm already calling bullshit on this. This is not historically accurate. Where are them, like, chewing gum and the big hair and big hair and a bunch of makeup and stuff like that? It's like, no, I saw Johnny down at the park. He was tweaking. He was definitely on that witch shit. I swear. He was down by the car park.
And this is the accused, the Reverend George Burroughs. The jury is filing in. In a moment, the verdict.
In the matter of the Crown Colony of Massachusetts against George Burroughs, what has the jury found?
We say, with God's counsel, the prisoner to be guilty.
Get fucked, Reverend. You like that? You shouldn't have talked shit about Juniper's casserole. All right? How about you take that Bible? You take that Bible over there and you fucking ass. All right, you coming down? You coming down to my house? You insult the grass that I'm cutting? Get fucked, Reverend. I told you to baptize Michael last Friday. You try to reschedule on me.
It is false.
To the jury speak of God. I am a servant of God. God does not countenance his servants to be made the tool of Satan. It is impossible. I am innocent.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely not depicting. This guy would have been losing his shit. Shit, like I told Bobby, Bobby, I'm gonna baptize Johnny next Tuesday. All right, it's brutal here. All right, there's no heat, barely food. No food. I just ate some weird mushrooms and maybe I saw some shit. Okay, maybe that's how it is. Maybe like wasn't the devil. Maybe it was I'm an alcoholic.
Let the prisoner stand forth. Whereupon George Burroughs has this day been found guilty of the indictment of witchcraft, we command in the name of their Majesties William and Mary, now King and Queen of England, that on August 19th the said George Burroughs be taken from their Majesty's jail in Salem to the place of execution, and there be hanged until he is dead.
By hereby with the court account of God, you're hereby sus. You'll be burned at the stake until dead.
Murder! Remove the prisoner.
Get wrecked.
I am a man of God. By all my vows, I swear I am innocent. I am innocent. I am innocent.
Justice Dawson,
Self-report.
sir, and Judge Haythorne.
Yes?
The
Reverend
fuck?
Burroughs claimed he was innocent. What evidence was against him?
What? Crushing and unequivocal evidence, sir. The condemned man was known to place his middle finger in the barrel of a gun 6 feet long and hold it thus at arm's length.
A gun which strong men found difficulty to lift in the normal fashion.
Also, he would carry full casks of molasses, as though they were eggs blown empty of contents.
Surprising feats of strength, but is it proof of witchcraft?
Such power is only of the devil.
Witch marks were found on the prisoner's body.
We here are weak as fuck. I can't crush one egg with my bare hand. All right? We make sure to execute all Chads. Because my wife was checking his ass out the other day.
Sure proof of infestation by malign spirits.
Witch marks, sir?
Marks. Excrescences. Discolorations on the skin.
Like warts or port wine marks?
Yet not warts, nor port wine marks, but quite definite points of entry and exit of familiar spirits, who then tormented and tortured these poor, unoffending girls most grievously.
And other matters.
They said that they were at his sermon and they were not inspired at all. They were falling asleep. Oh my God. I looked at myself on the stream. Look how scary her face is on that. Oh. You see that face? Students looking upon you. I never saw nothing wrong with the Reverend. I was merely enacted upon God to send him down to the fiery depths of hell where he became.
Matters.
Oh, indeed. On the 7th
Ah,
of
no,
May
no.
this year, I saw the apparition of George Burroughs.
Ah.
To torment me and urge me to write in the Black Book and to serve the devil.
Oh my
He
God.
told me he had
Please
made
blink.
Mr. Shepherd's daughter a witch, and he told me he would do worse to me. Kill me if I should be witness against him.
Ah.
He made Abigail Hobbs a witch. He told me. One night, 2 women came before
Oh my
my
God, there's
bed
2 of
in
them.
winding sheets.
Oh, stop it.
And they
Oh
told
my
me
God.
they were George Burroughs' first wives, and he had murdered them.
No.
Then Goodman Fuller's first wife came to me in winding sheets and
No.
told me George Burroughs had murdered her because there had been a quarrel
Oh my-
between him and her husband.
Oh.
And other things.
Is
the
such
fuck?
spectral evidence acceptable in court, gentlemen?
It comes from those who walk in righteousness.
Is it not possible for the righteous also to be ignorant or ill?
They're not ignorant of the loving guidance of the eternal.
You seem to be studied in the language of divine philosophy, sir.
I studied 2 years for the ministry.
Before studying for the bar?
I never studied law.
Nor I, nor any of us.
But gentlemen.
I'm sorry, sir. You talking about law and justice. That's for God to determine on that one there, buddy. You see him asking a lot of questions, too. Say, take this here gun. You acting kind of witchy there, bruh.
We're appointed for our discretion and fidelity by Governor Phipps of this colony, of which I have the honor of being deputy governor.
I see. Just what is a witch, sir?
Well,
Excuse me, my dear. The witches and wizards are those who serve.
Oh, and wizards, huh? Don't make. It's like, hey, we're not sexist here, okay? We like to kill all magical beings.
Sell themselves into the service of Satan and receive in exchange a familiar spirit
a minister of Satan, that is.
who gives them the power to inflict mischief on living things by supernatural means.
Mm.
How did this witch trouble start in Salem?
Well,
This
in
past
their
winter,
innocence.
This guy's got top energy. Just like, this is not. It's like, this is the Sigma right here. You can tell. No. You can tell. This guy. His frame doesn't get breaking at any time and everything. He tells his bottom. Take a step back, okay? I'm talking here. All right? You shut your mouth and let me get to speaking here.
This past winter, these unhappy girls fell in with the slave woman, Tituba.
Yeah.
Confessed witch, by the way. Presently,
Speak
they
your
became
word, King.
wildly distracted. Their parents sent for the doctor, who, finding nothing mortally amiss, pronounced them bewitched.
Boom. There it is. Now you can talk, bottom.
Manifest that their doings with the witch woman did make them susceptible to other witchery.
Most of the witches have been named by Ann Putnam here, isn't that so?
Indeed.
There are whispers that your family has quarreled greatly in the village, and that most of the people you've accused happen also to be enemies of your father.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I was only acting on the grace of God. I don't know what you mean. There's nothing wrong on my end. Tee hee ha ha ha. Bitch. Burn her. Look at her face. That is a child willing to burn people.
By their mother.
It is a fact that witches are quarrelsome, not
You
the
saw that
quarrelsome of witches,
face?
sir.
Just like, man, you should. Hey, you tell him. Oh my gosh, he is still staring at me. Oh my.
We must rest and reflect upon our sad duty.
We turn you
Oh
over
my
to
God,
Ned
they don't
Calmer with
blink.
a report from Salem Jail. Come in, Ned Calmer.
Yeah, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Holy shit.
This is Ned Calmer. We're standing just outside the cell of the Salem Jail. Although the prisoners are carefully guarded, they are permitted visitors, and this man and woman are undoubtedly in that category. All the people we see here are being held for trial as witches or have already faced the court and are condemned to hang. This is Mrs. Mary Easty, who has been accused by the Salem girls and is expected to go on trial today.
Honestly, I fucking love this. This is hilarious. I love it.
This is a woman named Foster, believed by many to be deranged. Having confessed to being a witch, she will not be put to death. Sir, are you acquainted with any of the prisoners here?
No, sir. We know they're allowed visitors, however.
We thought we might comfort them a little.
Well, by your dress and manner, you're not citizens of Salem.
We're from Charlestown.
And you came here solely to extend sympathy to these people?
Not precisely. We have a certain personal interest in the proceedings. Excuse me.
Madam,
The
would
fuck?
it be amiss if we had a few words with you?
Oh my god, dude.
Are you-
It's fucking like the film. I thought she had like sunken eyes. Holy shit. I'm genuinely scared
Are
here.
you one of those charged with witchcraft?
I'm condemned to death for it.
I'm sorry.
Regret is not enough.
Sorry.
Grief is not enough. The apologies and the redress that come after the innocent have been long with
Yeah,
the
we gotta
brave
add some
ones,
music to this.
they're all too late.
Except to instruct the future to be wiser.
Yes.
Do you question the very existence of witchcraft?
Oh, no, sir, there are witches, and they must be found out, but I'm not one of them. She lies. She lies in her witch's teeth, and she knows it. She is a witch. She is one of us. There you see a true confessed witch. She made me a witch. We went together to a witch's meeting in the Reverend Paris's pasture.
What the
The
fuck?
devil himself carried us there on a long pole, flying in the darkness. Only the pole broke, pitched us both to the ground and hurt me. See how I live still? It proves.
Oh, we'll buy her.
Surely this nymph was not taken in evidence.
It was powerful proof that good wife Foster's confession was true and I a witch. In open court, she did tie the hands of Susanna Sheldon so hard only a sword could free her. Hey?
Did the court see these fetters?
Not unless they all be witches. Sir, good
No.
wife Mary Eastie's on trial, and I know before God she's to be as innocent as myself.
Good wife Easty, how will you plead?
To plead guilty would be to belie myself. I plead innocent.
Who is your counsel?
My conscience. We have no conscience, sir. None but the
My
Lord.
conscience.
And none will come forward to speak well of us. We stand alone.
Incredible.
And more.
Incredible.
She bewitched John Lovejoy's hog to death, she did.
No.
The magistrates are honorable men.
Ask goody carriers, they be wise ones. My sister Rebecca was acquitted by the jury. You see? She was acquitted. The crowd cried out for her death. The magistrate returned the jury to their room to reflect again, and this time to come out with a verdict of guilty.
Oh my God. Imagine going through that. And it's just like, or like in present day, the court goes back and just like, hold up, let's go back on this trial. Actually, you know what? They were guilty. Bring it back.
This the 12 good, frightened men did do. And my sister moulders in her grave for it.
Mrs. Eastie.
She was quite old and harmless and Christian and good. And last month she had.
Mrs. Eastie.
Shut up. Let's go. I think these are just some horny couple. I think they're into some weird shit. Like, why are you here? We came all the way from Charlestown because we're very sexually driven people. Man, we haven't witnessed too much.
A witch may confess her guilt, then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
I am hard right now.
Trust in the goodwill and the justice of the court, Nathaniel.
And those wretched girls?
One of them cried out on me. One of them cried out on me.
From here to Charlestown, and the girl never met my wife and doesn't know her. My wife has been cried out on in the rankest hearsay and fantasy.
The only person that cries out my wife's name is me. She is just over his shit. Just like, dude, just stop.
Our friends advised us to come to Salem and present ourselves for questioning. They believe in the court and its mercy. Why shouldn't we?
May I say, Mr. Carey and Mrs. Carey, how much I respect your respect for the law and for due process.
We'll sit in court and see how it goes before we cast ourselves upon the discretion of the court. Come, my dear.
Are they?
Man, they're about to fucking self-report?
Wise in doing this, good wife Carrier?
They have small choice.
Why is that?
They will be sought out and found if they try to run away. A deputy named Willard, sickened of the slaughter, refused to arrest any more witches. He fled, was found, tried for witchcraft himself and hanged. Others the same.
Oh my
Reverend
God.
George Burroughs the same.
Oh
There's
my
no
God.
escape from the court and its young heart.
Then you don't share the Carey's belief in justice.
My 4 young children, the eldest 12, were accused of being witches.
Mere children, witches?
They won't suffer. You see, sir, they all testified their mother indeed was a witch. The devil himself told me he picked her to be his queen. She murdered 13 people. My name is Martha Carrier. I am not a witch. I ask no pity or grieving when the truth be known. Let the future redress this wrong with kindness and mercy and sanity to its own time. I ask nothing else.
We return you to the meeting house for the trial of Mary Eastie.
Are you sure that what you've told the court...
Mrs. Todd Hunter, the court has resumed its session, and Judge Haythorne has stepped down from the bench to pursue a direct questioning of the accused, Mary Eastie.
No.
Mercy
Sigma.
Lewis, Ann Putnam, Elizabeth Hubbard, Mary A. Walcott, Abigail Smith, you have charged the prisoner with inflicting anguish upon you by her evil spirit. Doth this woman hurt you as she looks?
Oh, fuck off. Oh my God. That is fucking awful.
No words to say to the accused.
Hang her immediately. Come here.
What say you, good wife Eastie? Are you guilty?
No, you
Jesus
jackass.
Christ, I am innocent.
You see how these accuse you with their torments?
As God lives, it is false.
Mercy Lewis, hath this woman brought the black book to you to sign? Or to any of you? Speak! Mary Eastie, why do you stop the mouths of these witnesses?
I do not.
How far have you complied with Satan?
You do not ask me, do I comply with Satan, but how far?
Enough!
You caught me guilty at the start, questioning only how far I am guilty, and it is wrong of you.
Very well,
Break his
good
frame.
wife. Have you complied with Satan?
I have never complied with him, but have prayed against him all of my days. The people here could say so, were they not struck with fear that these poor, deluded children will cry out on them for it.
If you are guilty, confess and save yourself.
What the fuck?
I will not belie myself to live.
Mercy Lewis, look you at the prisoner. Is this indeed the woman who brought the black book to you?
The one. I saw the black man at her shoulder giving her the evil book.
No.
Pinched me, choked me until I was almost dead.
What say you, good wife Eastie?
Oh my God, no.
You are witnessing a typical demonstration of the strange susceptibility of these girls to the actions of the accused witches. Notice how the girls' necks and heads strain downward. It is believed here that they are under the powerful influence of the accused familiar spirit.
Oh my
Lift up the
God.
head of the accused.
She's so strong. She's using her girl boss powers.
Will you give your testimony, please?
Ah,
I
yes,
came one
the
night to
white
speak
man.
business with Isaac Eastie. Good wife Eastie found my speech rough and did say so. She told me I would be sorry for it. On my way home, I passed a stone fence and I felt a great blow on my back. And the stone wall rattled like skeletons, frightening my horse. From the blow I got, I bore a black mark for weeks.
You
I know
bruised
nothing
yourself,
about
you
that.
weak.
Yes, the apparition of Mary Eastie came to pinch and choked me. She blinded my eyes.
But I can see now.
Say you saw.
Yes, and I saw her again in Mercy Lewis's house, choking her with a chain. It's true. I could hardly breathe for it.
What say you, Mary Eastie?
Oh my
Was it the devil
God.
who prompted you?
Who is it?
I know nothing of these things. I am innocent. It must be something evil that causes these strange things. But if it be witchcraft or whose, I do not know. I know only that I am not guilty.
It's exactly what a witch would say.
Let the witnesses think carefully. Are you sure that this is the woman?
Hey, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Take one of the girls to the prisoner.
Was he swatting away flies?
Sir,
It's a
Your
bad
Honor, Judge Haythorne, what is Justice Staunton doing?
You see what's happening in this courtroom? The air is seething with demons and goblins and must be cleared of them before we go on.
Get fucked.
Let the jury retire. Let them decide if good wife Eastie commandeth a dire familiar spirit, and is guilty or innocent of doleful witchcraft.
So what do you think about Mary? I never really liked her. She's kind of cool.
We will return here for the verdict. Meanwhile,
So what do you think
Harlow
about
Wilcox of
Ted?
Harvard
How'd your
College
wife
is
feel?
ready for the discussion of witchcraft and the trial.
She keeps me away from game
This is
night.
Harlow Wilcox outside the residence of the Reverend Increase Mather, president of Harvard College and one of the most enlightened minds in New England today. Mr.
Yeah.
Mather, sir, do you believe in the existence of witches?
Well, yes, I do. I think they're fucking scary. I make sure I pour salt in my bed and I make sure they don't touch me. You know, these bitches be acting sus. And that's what I say.
In Exodus 22:17, we read, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Having God's warrant that witches must be exterminated, we have warrant that they do exist.
Well, sir, would you have any comment to make on the trials now going on in Salem?
name witch is so odious that we must exercise the gravest care before bestowing it on anyone. I trust they are exercising the most exquisite precaution, particularly in the matter of evaluating spectral events.
Well, believing in witches as you do, and yet skeptical of certain types of evidence, on what grounds may a witch be safely condemned?
I am of the belief that the evidence should be as clear as in any other major crime. However, if two credible persons affirm under oath certain incriminating evidence against the accused, that would be sufficient for conviction.
One last question before returning to Salem. Do you consider that court to be showing your wisdom and forbearance?
They have acted with fidelity according to their light. They deserve prayers and pity, not censure.
Thank you, sir. We return you now to Salem Meeting Hall.
The jury is just returning and the court brought to order. We'll hear the verdict on Mary Easty in a moment.
In the matter of the Crown Colony, Massachusetts against Mary Easty,
What you got to say, Bottom?
what hath the jury found?
We say, with God's counsel, the prisoner be guilty.
Let the prisoner stand forth.
Shit.
The prisoner has heard the verdict. In the name of their Majesties William and Mary, now King and Queen of England, we command that on September 22nd, Mary Easty be taken from their Majesty's jail in Salem to the place of execution, and there be hanged until she is dead. Do you speak, Mary Easty?
If you will hear me out. This court brands me witch. The Lord above knows my innocence, as shall all men on that great day of judgment. I do not petition your hearts for my own life. I plead now only for others, that no more innocent blood be shed, as it will surely be if you keep in the way and course you go now. I question not that your honors do to the utmost in the discovery of witchcraft.
Is he gonna break frame?
And would not be guilty of bloodshed and innocent blood for all the world. I ask not for myself. I ask for mercy for those who will follow me. And I question not but the Lord and his love, and in his infinite mercy will give blessing to your purpose. I am ready.
What's gonna happen? Damn. Way to keep your frame there, bro. Can't let the devil tempt
Your
you.
Honors,
My wife's a
if it please
witch.
the court, my wife and I take this moment to put ourselves upon the wisdom and discretion of the court.
Oh my God. Just like, this seemed fair, yeah. Go tell him, honey.
My wife has been cried out on as a witch. Now, we know this to be some misunderstanding. We have sat here that these girls may sense a witch among them, if my wife is such. Yet they have detected no witchery in the audience.
Your name, sir?
I have not given my name purposely. Better to test the girls. But now the test is done. Our name is Carey of Charlestown. I am a shipbuilder.
Seize upon her!
No!
Wisdom of the law, let her go, let her alone! Sir, we'll go to the prisoner at the bar.
Get fucked. No. No.
Nathaniel!
The test is made. The prisoner will be taken to jail to await trial.
Nathaniel! I'm not a witch! I swear it, I'm not a witch! Nathaniel, save me! Save me! Save me!
Oh my
God will
God.
take vengeance on you and these senseless silence. I will never be silent.
Self-reward.
You will not kill my wife. She will never face trial. If I must tear down these walls, my wife will not remain in jail to face this court.
Put him out!
You have gone too far. Witches indeed. Too far, too far.
Others were tried and hanged. In all, 20 died innocently in the village of only 1,700 souls. Nathaniel Carey never let his wife face trial, but broke into the jail and liberated her. The afflicted children, carried away by their power, accused higher and higher. And at last they accused Lady Phipps, the wife of Governor Sir William Phipps himself. Promptly the governor denounced the whole court and dissolved it. 6 months of terror in Salem were over. Most of the afflicted children went on to drab and shameful lives, and Putnam, years later, repented publicly. And Mary Eastey's plea for mercy and truth lives today. August 1692, the day of the witch hunt reached high noon. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our time. And you were there.
And you were there. That is right, students. We were here to witness the day of the birth and death of the Salem witch trials.
Wow. Wow. That was and like I saw some stuff on the Reddit on that. Like, so make sure to comment and everything just to see if that was all true. At least like depictions of younger women in the village falsely prosecuting these people. Which, damn. But hey, that was some crazy time. Woo! Here, I'm gonna send us off in a little outro. All you people on YouTube, I'll see you later. And we're gonna look out for somebody to raid here. So give me just a second here. And I just want to thank all of you out there for witnessing this crazy story of betrayal, people hating each other, Boston people, Massachusetts, Salem, witches. I definitely want to get into like Wichita and stuff like that just to get the specifics of it. But yeah, that's some wild shit. People reporting on each other and all that. That's just brutal. But hey, I'm glad that you were here to witness it. We learned so much about it on like the religious context of everything and like how it all went. That was so much fun. But hey, what was it? It's still October. It's still Halloween, stuff like that. So I'm going to be going on to the next one. I don't know what else. There's a few other ones that are pretty scary out there. So we'll definitely be diving into them. All right. So, but yeah, that's about it. I'll be streaming Tuesday, tomorrow. All right, at 8 o'clock. We're gonna be doing some artwork. Gonna be have some fun there. Chill times. Let's hang out. And yeah, that's about it. But hey, I'll catch y'all later. Hope you have a good one. And yeah, I'll see you Monday or tomorrow, whatever. Later. Cool. All right. Now, let me go ahead. Figure out somebody to raid. That was a lot of fun. I didn't know how much the other one was gonna really explain to us what was really happening, which that was a lot of fun and cool too. Hope you all had a good time in watching it too. That was a lot of fun. Let's see who's all. Oh hey, let's go ahead and raid paleontologizing. Yeah. Should be a good time. Hang out with them. But all right. Y'all have a good one. I'll catch you later. We're going to go ahead and set up this raid here. I'll catch y'all later.